Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and today I am doing the January book tag. This is a book tag that I was tagged to do by my friend Gwen over at her channel, Gwendolyn Kensinger, and it is a tag that was created this year by the creator Jan at her channel Jan Agaton. I'm gonna be honest, I was not aware or familiar with Jan before this tag coming out, but now that I am, I'm super glad to know her channel and to watch her videos because she is very entertaining. So I will link Gwen and Jan below. Please go check both of them out if you are not already subscribed to them. But basically this is just gonna be a book tag. It looks like it's kind of a wrap up of last year, what to look forward to this year, just some fun questions to answer in January. Going right ahead and starting with the first question, it is what is the last and first, if you remember, book you read last year? So I actually do know this and I talked through them in my previous video talking about last year's wrap up and 2022 goals. But my first book last year was Layla by Colleen Hoover, which is kind of a paranormal romance type of book. It's really different from any of Colleen Hoover's other books. It's a wild ride, but I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, so that was really fun to start out the year with a 5-star read. And then actually my last book that I read last year was another Colleen Hoover, and it was All Your Perfects, which was a reread for me. It's one of my favorite books, and so I wanted to end the year on another 5-star read that I already knew was a favorite of mine. And that book is a hard-hitting contemporary emotional romance. Question number 2, what is your first read this year? So I've already finished my first book this year and I read Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This is an action-packed contemporary book that I heard a ton of buzz about last year. I was pretty confident I was gonna enjoy it, so I decided to start the year with it, and I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. Like I said, action-packed. It's about these 2 men, these older gentlemen. They both had sons who were gay and they were actually married, and those 2 sons were killed. And so now we're following the dads basically seeking revenge for whoever killed their sons. And it's a very unlikely duo because these 2 men normally would not get along. They have some differing beliefs and just prejudices and biases. So it's about them kind of coming together despite their differences in order to get justice for their sons. Question number 3, share 3 of your reading goals this year. So again, I just did a video with my 2022 goals. So to very briefly sum up the goals that I said in that video, my first reading goal is to read 52 books this year. My second goal is to only buy books that are either favorite books of mine or favorite authors or books that I'm very confident that I'm gonna enjoy, because I would like to curate my collection to only be favorite books. And then my third goal is to read more science fiction, because that is a genre I love whenever I read it, but I don't read that much of it. So I would like to read more to get to know my tastes better. Question number 4 is share 3 of your most anticipated titles. And I have a few. The most obvious one is a book that comes out in actually less than a week. It's Colleen Hoover's newest book called Reminders of Him. I don't know anything about it other than I hear it's pretty emotional. Let's see, I also have some other ones written down. Blake Crouch is coming out with a new book. He wrote Dark Matter and Recursion and a bunch of other books that I haven't read yet, but I've read those 2, loved them both, and I'm hoping this is gonna be along the same sci-fi dystopian type vein. Brittany Morris is probably my favorite author, and she has a new book coming out this spring. She writes young adult sci-fi, and I've given both of her 2 previous books 5 stars. This one sounds like it's about a code-breaking cryptology competition, which sounds amazing. And then I guess that was probably already 3, right? But the other one I have written down is Jordan Taylor, is another favorite author of mine. She's written 2 books in the past. They've both been young adult, but one was historical fiction and one was a thriller. I can't remember off the top of my head what genre this new book falls in, but I'm gonna read it regardless of what genre it's in. Question number 5, which goals did you reach or not reach last year? So at the beginning of last year, I didn't set any specific documented goals. The only thing I set was my Goodreads goal, which again was 52, and I did meet that. I actually ended up reading 104 books last year, so crushed that goal. Probably a loose goal that I had was to revive my booktube channel, which I had started in 2019, did for a while, and then took like a 6-month break, and then I started it back up again spring of 2020, and have gone up and down in my consistency just because of my life, which I'm fine with. I don't think it's realistic for me to set myself content goals regarding a schedule or consistency that my life just isn't set up to meet right now. So I think I met the goal of reviving the channel. Maybe I have yet to reach my ideal goal of being super consistent and successful with this channel, but I'm working on it. Question number 6. Are there new releases this year you've heard of that you have no desire to read? I'm sure there are, but I haven't noted any of them down. Fantasy books, not a fan of, so I will never read any of those new releases. Most romance books I also am not interested in. I'll probably do a little bit of research and pop some book covers up here since I don't have them off the top of my head, but I can definitely do some research on like Goodreads and find some books that are coming out that I probably will not read. Question number 7, what are some reading habits you want to change this year, if any? I really don't want to change any of my reading habits. I'm in a pretty good groove with balancing reading with my life. Like I said, I read 100 books last year. That was in the midst of having a baby in the middle of the year, having started a new job right before last year started, and so that was a lot of learning a new job and being in the office, whereas before I was working from home, so I was managing, you know, that new time schedule and commitment. Right now I read a combination of physical books and audiobooks, and I'm comfortable with that mix. I'm comfortable with when I read and how I read, so I just want to keep on continuing to do that. If anything changes in my preferences or my schedule and availability or anything, I hope that I would be able to modify my reading habits to match, but I think I've honed in what works for me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and continue that. Number 8, are there any adaptations you're excited about? I really don't watch many adaptations. That is one thing that even if there's a book that I absolutely love, if there's an adaptation, I'm not necessarily rushing out to watch it. Like one that comes to mind from last year is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I absolutely loved that book so much, and yet I had really no desire to watch that series. I know it's already out, but the Dune movie, I could see myself reading that book and then watching that movie. Probably No Exit, I probably will watch because it's a movie. I think I am more drawn in general to movie adaptation than series adaptations. But other than that, I can't really think of any adaptations that are coming out. So if you know of any, again, that you're excited about or you think that I should be excited about, let me know and I'll try to make time for them. Number 9, favorite bookish memory of last year. The first thing that comes to mind are the 2 bookish podcasts I got to do this last year. I just recently was on the Talk Bookish to Me podcast hosted by my friend Gwen, who I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, and we did our best and worst books of 2021. That was such a fun podcast to record because Gwen has quickly become a good friend of mine, so it was really fun to talk to her for a couple hours about books. And then I was also on the Books to Last podcast earlier in the year, which is a podcast about which books you would bring to a deserted island. So I talked through my 5 books that I would bring. They were not necessarily my favorite books, so I will go ahead and link that below if you missed that when I originally did that podcast and you would like to listen. The other really fun bookish memory I have is participating as a co-host in the Thrill to the Weekend readathon. It was just a really fun, quick 3-day readathon that I had a lot of fun with, and I was grateful to have been asked to be a part of it. And then last question, number 10, is any carryovers from last year that you're still planning on finishing this year? No. Definitely no unread books that I started and didn't finish. That's not really what I do. I very rarely, if ever, DNF books, and I'm pretty much a 1 book at a time reader. So if I'm reading 1 book, I'll finish it before getting to the next one. And I didn't have any that I didn't finish before getting to this year. So no carryovers. And I have about 20 books on my TBR that I owned obviously last year, and I'm carrying over to this year to hopefully get read in 2022, but I wasn't necessarily planning on reading them last year or anything like that. That is it for all of the questions for this January book tag. So thank you so much, Gwen, for tagging me. Thank you, Jan, for creating it. Thank you for watching it. And other than that, I don't have anything else. So thank you for watching again, and I will see you in my next video.